When you hear Back in Black, you know. If it's a Wednesday afternoon, then we're in the Bearcat Den, live at Pasquale's Pizza here on Highway 31 in Cullman. Hello again, everybody. I'm Tommy Warhurst. Welcome in to the Bearcat Den, live at Pasquale's Pizza. We're out on the patio this afternoon, nice and dry. On the inside of the patio, the fans are going up top to keep the air moving. The curtains are down to keep the rain off of you, and we have got a jam-packed hour tonight of the Bearcat Den. Coach Danny Stiff is on his way over. Players are making their way over from practice as well. We've got a lot to talk about with the game a couple of weeks ago at Buckhorn, but we are looking forward to Friday night when the Bearcats make their 33rd playoff appearance. We're heading down to Parker to take on the Thundering Herd on Friday night. And that'll be the first round of the high school state playoffs. If we get a win Friday, we'll get to come back home here at Oliver Woodard Stadium next week. We got to take care of business this Friday night first. Special thanks to Jamie Blanton and all of her team at Alabama Closing and Title for sponsoring tonight's meals for players and coaches here at Pasquale's Pizza. Folks, if you got questions about title insurance, maybe you need to add somebody to your deed. Maybe you want to just put somebody else on there and make sure that you can pass the property on correctly. Jamie Blanton and her team there at Alabama Closing and Title can take care of you. They're a proud supporter here of Cullman Athletics. Proud to be sponsoring the Bearcat Den tonight here at Pasquale's Pizza. Plenty of room on the inside for you. The buffet is hot and ready with pizza and pasta. The bar is hopping as well on the inside. If you have not been to Pasquale's since they remodeled, you are missing out. We're right here on Highway 31, same place Pasquale's has been since 1968, right here on Highway 31 in Cullman. When we come back, we're going to take a look back at the Buckhorn game from a couple of weeks ago and look ahead to Friday night, the first round of the playoffs against Parker, coming up here on the Bearcat Den, live from Pasquale's Pizza here in Cullman on Cullman's Live 95. The road to the Blue Map kicks off this Friday night in the Alabama High School Athletic Association state playoffs. And Cullman Community Radio is proud to be the flagship station of two of the top teams in the state of Alabama, the Good Hope Raiders and the Fairview Aggies. This Friday night on Friday Night Live, Hatton Hornets come to Good Hope to take on the Raiders, and the Fairview Aggies host the Rams of Carver. It's the first round of the Alabama High School Athletic Association state playoffs, right here on Cullman Community Radio's Friday Night Live, powered by Cullman's Live 95. Go to your favorite app store and download the Cullman's Live 95.5 app. Then select the channel of the game you want to hear. Friday Night Live is brought to you in part by Cyber Broadband, Plus One Heating and Air, Cleaning and More Cullman, Josh Phillips of Impact Mortgage Group, Merchants Bank, Cullman Electric Co-op, Tisha Brewer of State Farm, Lister Hill Credit Union, Guthrie's Automotive, and the Warhurst Team Realtors at Hagamore Realty Group. Friday Night Live on the Cullman County Sports Network, powered by Cullman's Live 95. In today's world, broadband internet is an absolute necessity. Unfortunately, the large cable and phone companies only provide broadband internet where it's profitable for them. For the rest of us, there's Cyber Broadband. Providing internet service since 2004, Cyber utilizes a small radio antenna to deliver broadband where cable and DSL don't go. You can join the 21st century today with Cyber Broadband, supporting streaming, VPN access, and everything else you've been wanting to do with that slow internet connection. It's Cyber Broadband for the win. They can be found online at cyberbroadband.net or look them up on Facebook. At Plus One Heating and Air, we believe in more than just fixing your HVAC system. Our team of skilled technicians is dedicated to providing top-notch service with a smile. Whether it's installation, repairs, or maintenance, you can trust Plus One Heating and Air to get the job done right the first time.
I've never experienced service like this before. Plus One Heating and Air not only fixed my heating system promptly, they also ensured everything was running smoothly. They truly care about their customers.
So when you're in need of heating and air services, remember the company that's willing to walk that extra mile for you. Plus One Heating and Air, where trust meets exceptional service.
Live 95.5.
Cullman's Independent Radio. Welcome back into the Bearcat Den, live from Pasquale's Pizza here on Highway 31 in Cullman. The buffet is hot and ready on the inside, waiting on you. The bar is hopping inside as well. There's TV screens all over the place. You can watch news, you can watch sports, you can come out here on the patio and listen to us talk Bearcat football, meet some players and coaches and fans as well, all here in the Bearcat Den. Again, special thanks to Jamie Blanton and her team at Alabama Closing and Title for sponsoring meals tonight for players and coaches here in the Bearcat Den. I'm joined by Cullman head coach Danny Stiff. Coach, thanks for coming back into Bearcat Den, sir.
Appreciate you having me.
Had a week off last week, kind of recouped. Hopefully you guys got a little healthy and then back on the practice field this week.
Yeah, it was, we got about 3 days of practice in last week. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We pushed it back because the volleyball team playing on Tuesday. Normally it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on the bye week. So we got 3 good days in. Got some extra work on these guys. Thank goodness we had that time. And you know, you feel like it's about time. You're just sick of practice and ready to play.
Yeah, I bet. Ready to play somebody else, not hit yourself.
Exactly.
It's been said that around every successful man is a good woman.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting to your left is a woman who makes me look like a genius every Friday night. She sets me up with everything I need there, pregame information, any kind of changes we've got. And I know she's your right-hand lady keeping things organized for you. Erin Tidwell, thanks for coming in the Bearcat Den, ma'am.
Thanks for having me.
And again, thank you for the great playoff shirt that I'm wearing tonight. And I mean that when I say you make my job easy. When I get there to the stadium on Friday night, she's got everything there prepared for me. If anything changes in the lineup, she's there. She's on top of it. Anything I need, she's right there to help me out. And I know that you appreciate her as well, Coach.
Yeah, she does all that for me, you know, exponentially more. You know what I mean? It's a daily thing. I really don't know what I would do without her. I know the aspects of my job would change, you know, from things I've got to put my time into. And she handles so much. I mean, from a head coaching standpoint, she about handles as much head coaching stuff as I do, and lets me deal with the football stuff, and kind of you know, take some of those other things off my plate, which is just invaluable to me. I probably can't even put it into words how valuable it is, and I appreciate everything she does. It's awesome. And you know, Mark Stevens, I told Mark what I needed somebody to do, and he was like, "Oh, I know the perfect person. Hopefully she'll do it." And he was talking about Erin.
Yeah.
And it took me about one meeting. We sat down in the library that first time. Remember that?
I do.
I was like, yeah, she's the one. She's gonna be on top of it. So I needed somebody like that, and you know, couldn't be more thankful to have her. And I know everybody feels that way around the program. You know, you that have, you know, what you do, and you know, the administration, my wife even. I think everybody appreciates Erin and what she does. So you know, she deserves all the credit, and you know, even though sometimes she doesn't want it, but she deserves it.
Erin, talk a little bit about a day in the life working with Coach Stiff, either a daily routine or maybe look at a typical week and tell folks kind of what that day or what that week looks like.
Sure.
And you can be as honest and brutal as you want to be.
Yeah, I'm good.
So, first of all, I would like to say that this is the fun part of the job, and Coach Stiff is awesome to work for. So sometimes a funny story is people ask me, what do you know about football? And I always say, I don't know anything about football.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I don't know the X's. I don't know the O's, anything like that. And then they ask me about Coach Stiff, and I say I do know that that's a great guy.
Yeah.
And so first thing they always ask me, like, well, why is he a good guy? And I said, well, he's a great dad. He's a great husband. He puts these kids first, and that's always the topic of conversation when we meet. So a day in our week looks like we try to meet about once a week, twice a week, try to get things nailed down, and then we put it together on Friday night. So he's fun to work for. He knows football, and when he starts talking about football, he's going to talk about it, and his eyes light up.
Yeah.
So, and when he talks about these boys, his eyes light up, and it's fun to watch and fun to be a part of.
What's the biggest challenge that you've had working with Coach Stiff as far as something he needed, something he got to do? What's the biggest challenge?
Probably me not knowing anything about football is probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So, but there's not really any challenges. So, what I like about us is he stresses about different things than I stress about, and then we just somehow figure it out together.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes we talk each other off of a ledge.
yes.
You know?
Yes.
And yeah, that's true. We do stress about different things, and sometimes I could just tell her, hey, that's not as important as, you just relax a little bit. It'll work out. It'll work itself out. We've both told each other that several times. That
Yes.
it'll work itself out. It'll be fine. Give it some time.
Yeah, countless times.
Yeah.
This week we've got a road game, first round of the playoffs. There's a lot of logistics to go into that. Traveling to Birmingham. Just talk about preparation, Aaron, this week and things that you've been involved in getting the team ready to travel come Friday.
I'll be honest with you, boosters have made this very simple for us this week. Normally we usually take school buses, but they've treated us well this week, and they're going to charter 2 buses down there. Carrie Bentley, one of our boosters here, she has done all this work on T-shirts and all these kind of playoff goodies that are coming our way. So I think logistically we're ready to go.
Yeah. I ask players each and every week, and I've asked Coach Stiff, so you're going to get the same question, Aaron, so here it comes. Most embarrassing moment at a football game for you?
Most embarrassing moment.
Or in sports.
Or in sports, I guess in sports in general.
Too,
Yeah, maybe back when you played sports.
Back when I played sports, most embarrassing moment. I think when I was playing basketball, my head hit the back of the hardwood floor pretty hard.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
The whole crowd, I love it when when somebody gets injured and they go, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, I want to thank you for everything that you do for me each and every week, making it easy for me to do public address announcing there for the school. I couldn't do what I do without you. You make me look like a genius, and I truly mean that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate you.
When we come back, we'll take a quick look back at last week's game against Buckhorn, and we'll start looking ahead to Friday night as the Bearcats make their 33rd playoff appearance when we travel down to Parker to take on the Thundering Herd. We are at Pasquale's Pizza in the Bearcat Den. The buffet's on the inside, hot and ready for you. The bar is cranking out nice drinks as well. We're out here on the patio taking in the breeze from the fans, watching games and news on TV, and talking Bearcat sports here in the Bearcat Den. Special thanks to Jamie Blanton and her team at Alabama Closing and Title for sponsoring meals tonight for Bearcat players and coaches. Thank you, Miss Jamie, for your support of Cullman Athletics. Back in the Bearcat Den in a moment.
You know, we have one of the coolest places right here in Cullman. It's Cleaning and More Cullman on County Road 437. Cleaning and More Cullman has reliable and professional residential and commercial cleaning services tailored to your needs. And I know because we use Cleaning and More Cullman at the Warhurst Team Realtors for our buyers and sellers. Cleaning and More Cullman is more than just cleaning supplies. They have janitorial supplies like trash can liners of all sizes, cleaning supplies, mops, brooms, paper towels, they have it all. Plus concession stand and restaurant supplies like cups, cutleries, plates, to-go containers, bags, straws, nacho trays, even popcorn bags. Cleaning and More Cullman has it all. Need climate control storage? How about 10 by 10, 10 by 15, and 10 by 20 units? And they even have the U-Haul trucks to carry your stuff. You can check them out at cleaningandmorecullman.com. You can get info at cleaningandmorecullman.com. Or the way I like, you can dial them up at 256-736-9944. 256-736-9944. Cleaning and More Cullman. County Road 437. Under the big white sign with the U-Hauls.
So I'd been battling depression for quite a while, and I tried different medications, and it would get better, but then they would start to taper off. And I would fall back into those feelings of apathy, worthlessness, and not wanting to do anything. After TMS, I wake up every day energized and ready to take on the day.
We started SoundMind TMS to provide treatments for depression and anxiety that really work. We'd love for you to come to the office for consultation to see if TMS may save your life.
SoundMind TMS, 256-735-9475. Or for more information, you can visit our website, soundmindtms.com.
In the game of mortgages, experience matters. Meet Josh Phillips, a veteran with over 13 years in the mortgage industry. As the leader in the local mortgage community, Josh is more than just a lender. He's a partner who believes in making an impact. At Impact Mortgage Group, they're not just making mortgages. They're making a positive impact on borrowers and our community. You can experience the difference too with Josh Phillips at Impact Mortgage Group.
I'm Josh Phillips of Impact Mortgage Group. You can reach me at 256-338-2920, and I'll show you how my experience can help impact your next home purchase.
In MLS number 338177. Are you ready to make your next move in Cullman? Hi, I'm Tommy.
And I'm
Angela. We're not just realtors, we're a family dedicated to helping yours.
We're not just about buying or selling property. We're about building connections within our community.
From local schools to charity events, we're active because we care about Cullman.
When you use us, you're not just getting one realtor, you're getting a team working around the clock for you.
With our experience and expertise, we'll guide you through every step of the process.
We're the Warhurst Team Realtors at Hagamore Realty Group.
We make it happen, you make it home.
Cullman's Live 95.
Live. 95.5.
Welcome back into the Bearcat Den, live from Pasquale's Pizza here on Cullman's Live 95 and on Cullman's Live 95's Facebook page as well. Hello to all of you out there in video land. If you miss any of today's show, don't worry. You can always go back and rewatch it on the Cullman's Live 95.5's Facebook page. And then later on tonight, we'll have it uploaded to the Cullman's Live 95's YouTube channel as well. I'm Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff. It seems like, Coach, it's been a long time ago since we played Buckhorn.
It has been.
We were off last week. This was the game a couple of weeks ago. Dropped that one 14-7. You mentioned here in the Bearcat Den before that game that they were a super talented football team. Yeah. They came out, and we didn't really have an answer for the running game most of the night.
Yeah, that was going to be part of our philosophy on defense. We had to cover those guys, and you got to put extra guys out there to not give up big plays. And I knew it was going to be a bend, don't break, type game. If we made them sustain the ball down the field, getting first downs, I was fine with that because I knew at some point in time you probably, just by the law of averages, you get a negative play in there somewhere on defense, especially if you're moving around and doing some different stuff. So I knew it would take one of those negative plays to kind of get a stop and then get them in a 3rd and long where we can kind of play coverage or blitz. And so that was really the plan to go in. I knew they'd run. You just had to get one of those stops and get them, they get close to the red zone. The throw-in gets a little harder, so then you can tighten up the coverage. You can put more people in the box, and you can get those stops. But I was refusing to give up a big play in that game. So, I thought with that game plan, the defense played solid. They really did. I thought they played really good. It seems like you're watching from the stands, and they're executing at a high level they were on their offense. So you're going to give up some of those chunk run plays, but they're not touchdown plays. I think they had one big pass play where our corner fell down, and they went about 70, 80 yards on it. And they ended up getting called back for a block in the back and just kind of reset everything. But defensively, that was kind of the game plan. I knew it was going to go that way. It's hard. It's probably hard to watch from a fan standpoint because you feel like it's just you're bleeding out. But it's kind of what I expected, and it's just playing out how it goes. The hard thing as a coach is the players start getting frustrated sometimes with that, and they want to either start blitzing or do more, and you just have to keep them in a good headspace to know, like, hey, we're fine. Let's just keep playing. Against a team like that, 14 points is always going to be a good night, and that was the goal. So, I had no problem with that. Really, we struggled a lot more on offense. I think we scored the second series of the game. We throw a ton of screens, and watching us, you're going to see us throw a ton of screens, and we threw like a screen and go, scored on that to I believe it was Colton Borden, and we knew that you get a good beat. You can watch football on Saturdays, on Sundays. You watch about 3 series in that first quarter, and I could probably tell you which team is in more control of the football game. And you could tell with their defense, we were going to have a hard time sustaining drives, running the football, consistently throwing the ball. And so we threw a lot of trick plays, I guess you would call them, a lot of, double pass. I think we threw 2 double passes, a lot of screen and goes and stuff like that. And they were open all night.
Yeah.
We just didn't hit them. One time we had somebody lined up on the wrong side. Everybody's probably yelling at Landon Pitts for throwing the ball in the middle of nowhere, but there should have been a running back over there going up the thing. Now, he could have looked and saw that he wasn't over there, but plays like that when they're not executed well, they don't look very good. And so we had some struggles executing on those plays. It was there, we just couldn't quite execute it. And we just got to do a better job overall. Players, coaches, everybody, just making sure that everybody knows where to be, what to do, and and then our Preston's our really our coach out there on the field. And then he's got to be the second level to make sure things don't break down out there. And he's got a lot of responsibility as it is.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't our best offensive performance by any means. And really, like I always say, the D-line, O-line are going to control the games. And we really struggled up front on the offensive line, blocking those guys consistently. Some of it was them. Some of it was us. But, when you play a good team, and even their coach told me, he was like, talking to him after the game, and he said, well, we finally put it together for a game. And I'm like, well, yeah, it wasn't the best time for us. But we were, in my mind, I was ready for them to kind of put it together. You could kind of see it building up through the season that they had a lot of talented players, and they were very, very dangerous if they did put it together. And, they did. And having said that, we still, have a shot down at the end of the game to win. And it just didn't go our way like it did in the Jasper game, when we got down in there close. But we knew it was a challenging night, but offense did put that drive together at the end when we really needed it. And I thought our defense played really well all night. There were a lot of weapons they got when they got two really good receivers and a really good running back. Man, you got to pick your poison. And,
you said it. I think they were determined to stop the run and make us throw the ball to beat them.
Yeah.
And our defense played as good as they could probably play. And like you said, we had a chance to win the game right there at the end. It just didn't happen for us.
And it wasn't just that last drive. There were several opportunities, I guess you would say, to score and kind of get him out of position. And, when you don't hit those, you're going to kind of put your back in the corner because now you get an incomplete pass on a double pass or something, and now you're just back wherever you were, and it's another, you lost it down. So, it's really hard to play offense and drive the ball and score a lot of points when you can't run the ball.
Yeah.
When you can run the ball, everything seems easy. When you can't run the ball, everything seems hard.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the situation we were in that night. We were grinding and battling through, and, they had enough, and I told the team after the game they were the better team tonight, and that's all it takes in football.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're the better team doesn't matter. It's whether you're the better team that night. So, I think everybody was disappointed with that. It's good to have a week off. Everybody kind of got away for a few days. We didn't have practice, like I said, until Wednesday. So everybody gets a little fresh leg, gets a little back. From coach's standpoint, you got, you're planning for the next week. You've got from Saturday to Tuesday night really to game plan. And that always helps you as a coach because you can really get honed in on things. And, having 2 weeks to prepare for somebody, sometimes you can kind of think too much about it.
Yeah.
I cut myself off last Sunday. So about a week, we practiced last week, came back, and this weekend I was working, and I just realized, like, hey, this is too much. I cut myself off. And I said, all right, that's it right there. That's the last thing we're going to install and put in. And, move on from there, make sure everything's cleaned up, make sure everybody knows what they're doing.
Well, it's not really a bad thing that we have a couple of weeks to prepare for the number 2 team in Class 6A, the number 1 in their region, in the Parker Thundering Herd. The Bearcats, I mentioned a few moments ago, making our 33rd appearance in the state playoffs. We're 16-16 in the first round, Coach. Overall playoff record 24-32. Those are just numbers. All that goes out the window because this is kind of a second season, a time to reset, win, and you keep getting to play each and every week. We do draw a pretty tough opponent. They're 9-1, averaging 37 points a game, only giving up 11. They look very dangerous offensively, and then defensively, Coach Warren's gang has been pretty stubborn, giving up points too. Talk a little bit about what you've seen about Parker.
Yeah, I mean, playing Clay Chalkville last year, you really couldn't think it could get any more challenging. But, it's like I said, you don't really want to be the 4 seed in the region because you can match up against, like we played the best team in the north side of Alabama last year. Them and Saraland, Clay Chalkville kind of had the north, and you knew Saraland kind of had the south last year. And here we are again playing the best team in the north part of Alabama in 6A. So, it's a challenge. I think it helps that we had to do this last year because, just some things from the the psychology of it and the mindset of the kids probably caught me a little more off guard last year, because these guys are pretty fearless. And I think we had a little too much fear last year when we played Clay Chalkville. And it's something that I didn't realize until we got going in the game. Because I was like, we got nothing to lose last year. Might as well play free and just go out there and play fast, have fun. But there was a lot more anxious and anxiety from the kids last year than I expected, and I didn't really realize it till the game started. So I tried to go ahead and cut that off this year, before it happened, and kind of get them in the right mindset for this, to be ready for it. And I hope that helps in our preparing that way in their execution of the game plan.
Talk a little bit about that from the coaching perspective. Learning that last year, seeing how your guys reacted in game there. What have you done a little different this week than you did last year?
Well, I mean, I take pride in kind of always knowing the mindset of the guys. And that was the one game last year that I was kind of surprised and caught off guard by how they reacted to them. I'm always trying to get a good beat on those guys and kind of what their mindset is and what my approach has to be to the week because of what their mindset is. And usually they're very similar to how I feel. You know what I mean? They kind of match how I am. And that was surprising last year that they weren't like that. So, it sounds crazy, but, they were so good and so talented and big, strong, physical. It's crazy, but my starting point was like, hey, we've got playing one of the better teams in the state. And I'm like, I literally told them this. I go, how many people have died on the football field playing them? All right, how many people got injured last year in the Clay Chalkville game? And it was none and none. All right, so that was kind of my starting point of like, okay, well, you're going to be fine. All right, you're going to be fine. All right, so now let's talk about like how to attack these guys, where some weaknesses maybe are, and encourage more positivity about that. The first thing you want to tell them is how good they are, and then from there you want to tell them like, hey, but this is where they're weak at. This is where we can exploit. This is things we can take advantage of, and then build confidence in that, and that gets them into a good mindset where they can go out there and know that we have some type of edge somewhere, and just try to exploit that and get after it, and know that there's going to be struggles in the game. You're not going to go score every drive on offense. You're probably going to have some 3 and outs, and you have to accept that and get your mindset there for you don't get frustrated in the game. It's going to take a grind of that, and you're going to go through some challenges, and not everything's going to go your way, and not everything's going to be positive. And you've got to come from that and just keep the perseverance to keep rolling through some of that stuff. And that's how you can upset a team in a game like this. But if you let them beat you before you play the game, you're going to be in trouble. Because I know that from playing at Hoover. We didn't lose very many football games when I was there, and we could warm up and tell you if a team was beat before the game. Just by how they acted. We would talk trash and do all that. And when they wouldn't even look at us and they were dead silent, we knew we already had them. So it's one of those weeks from a psychology standpoint. You want to prepare them and get them in the right mindset, and then make sure they're practicing right and executing what we need to do.
We're in the Bearcat Den at Pasquale's Pizza here on Highway 31. We're live on Cullman's Live 95 WRJM LP, Cullman, Alabama. Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff. Coach, you worked around Coach Saban, and one of his philosophies I know is worry about what we do. Don't necessarily worry about what they're going to do. If we do what we're going to do and we take care of business, things can fall into the way that we want them to. And I know that's something you preached again this week too.
Yeah, and that's always the case. Like you hardly ever lose football games and where you didn't really beat yourself. There's maybe 2 times in my coaching career I don't even know how many games it's been, where we lost a game and we played really good and didn't really beat ourselves, and the other team just beat us. I mean, that's twice out of all the games I've ever been a part of. And Coach Saban was big on that, and it really came from when he was at was it Toledo? Was it Toledo or Michigan State? I can't remember. They played it's Michigan State. They played Ohio State the first game, and I can't remember what the score was. They got killed. They got blown out. And he thought they were so bad at Michigan State that they had to just focus on what they could do, just get better. He thought they were so bad, all they needed to do was just focus on getting better. Didn't even worry about who they were playing. Didn't worry about the scoreboard. Just wanted, that team to be better at what they did than what they were last week. and they ended up having a pretty successful season after that, and we're a pretty good football team by the end of the year. And that kind of steamrolled into him getting the LSU job. So he had that approach, from the rest of his career. And it's almost a cliche as a coach when you say that, but you really have to live it and believe it and embody it. And because it's always more about you than what they do. It really is.
Yeah.
So when you can being around someone like that and just learning anything, and he was a great psychological coach. He could call it days before on what the team was going to be like and what they were going to do. And a lot of the psychology of the players, you just learn from him and kind of his experience, and you just try to draw on his experience. And when you're around people with experience, that's what you want to do, is kind of take what they've learned and try not to make those mistakes and do not to learn those lessons on your own. It probably accelerated my coaching career by 8 to 10 years of stuff I didn't have to learn. They had already learned it.
Yeah.
I just had to, take it in and see how it applies. So it's very interesting, being around someone like that, especially that's highly driven too, and seeing how they've evolved over the years. And it kind of helps your evolution because you can progress a lot quicker in the way you think about things or how you approach things because they've experienced and they've had the bad, with it too. So.
Bearcats are in the playoffs Friday night. In the first round, we'll take on the Parker Thundering Herd. Cullman's first football team took the field back in 1915. It wasn't until 1972 before the Bearcats got their very first playoff win. So a lot of years went by before we got our first playoff win. This will be our 33rd playoff appearance and the second year in a row, Coach, that you've been able to take your Bearcats to the second season. I know that's always a goal of getting to the playoffs. And we work on getting from round one to round two as each week and each year goes by. But just being able to come in 2 years and have back-to-back playoff appearances says a lot about you and your staff and the players buying in to what you're selling them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to make the playoffs, It's really not, especially when you play in a tough region like we do. We added another team like Jasper this year. We just added one more that's good. It's always good. It's fun this time of year because it seems like every time the playoffs hits around daylight savings time. So that first playoff practice is always, you got to turn the lights on. It gets darker. It usually gets colder. Well, it's not getting colder yet. But, it starts to feel like playoff football. It just reminds me of me being a player. And, the lights start coming on in the stadium, and it's just a different feel. There's more on the line. There's nothing to look ahead of. It's all about that week, and it's all about this team and that week, and it makes it fun. You really get locked in as players and coaches.
I know you guys have had an opportunity to study Parker. Looks like they're heavy on the ground, but then they can also go up top and throw the ball too. Talk a little bit about Parker and what we expect to see.
Oh well, I mean, you can't start talking about Parker and not mention their defense. Yeah. I mean, loaded with talent. I think they've got three 4-star maybe D linemen up front. They got 2 big defensive tackles that are not only big and strong and physical, but they're very athletic for that size. One of them was playing at Jackson Olin when Cullman played them in the playoffs, I guess, 4 years ago. He was a freshman at Jackson Olin, ran the football from a Wildcat quarterback. It's a defensive tackle, let me remind you. So a 300-pound man that got to play Wildcat quarterback. They're throwing it and running it with him. He was a special athlete then. He's a special athlete now. And they're surrounded by great players, too. So you have the front, the defensive line, and then their secondary is equally as talented. I mean, they got a kid committed to Ohio State who, just from my evaluator standpoint of being a guy that's watched a lot of high school football players, he's a phenomenal, rare athlete, number one. I know the kids know his name, but I don't. I just know number one. Guy, he's a special athlete. Luckily, they don't play him on offense too much.
Yeah.
Because the coach has to be a defensive-minded coach because that guy not playing offense all the time, he's got to be a defensive-minded coach. But he's a really, really special player. But he plays cornerback, so you can kind of avoid him a little bit, They got another safety that's committed to Miami who's honestly almost as talented, but in another guy in the secondary that's really good. So there's not a lot. You can't say, hey, the D line is this, so we can attack the secondary. You kind of have to pick your poison. and maybe find some weak spots in their scheme, or maybe find that one player who's not quite as good as everybody else is, and kind of attack him from a defensive standpoint. But it's a challenge, and I've been telling the offense all week, you're not going to have just constant success against these guys. They're going to definitely have theirs. So you got to find it when you can, and make sure you capitalize on it and execute when they do give you something, and then be resilient the rest of the game. And it's going to be a big game for our punt team. We got to be able. They're going to get stops. Right? We're not going to score every drive. They are going to get stops on defense. All right, and then we have to be able to punt the ball and pin their offense back and not give them good field position, which is something they've relied on a lot this year. Is either turnovers or they actually return punts, which you don't see a lot in high school. They actually set up returns and won the ball back there as a returner. So that's another danger from a special team standpoint. And then offensively, they got two guys that really play quarterback. Number 9, who's more of a passer. He's athletic and he's mobile. But once you see 3 come in, who's the DB, and he plays quarterback, you realize that 9's not quite as athletic as he is, because that guy's special with the football. So you got to know who's at quarterback. 2 really good running backs. One of them was at Mortimer Jordan last year, who we have experience playing. And then another kid that I guess they had there who's about just as good. I think they have a 4-star receiver that's committed. He's committed somewhere, who's really, really good too, and a couple others like really good skill players that play receiver. So there's a lot of weapons there. An offensive line is big and good enough. I mean, they're probably up there, the top couple offensive lines we've seen. I'd probably say they're the 3rd or 4th best offensive line we've seen compared to what's around them too. So, it's a challenge. I do feel like they want to run the football because their defense is so good. They're not as aggressive on offense because their defense is so good. So there's a little opportunity there. And, when a team's more conservative that you can play a little more aggressive because you're not as worried about what they're going to do, all the time. And sometimes you know what they're going to do. They know too. And they're like, well, either you stop it, we'll punt it, we'll let our defense play.
And with a defense with as much speed and flying to the football the way they do, sometimes it may be some different schemes and things that we do that get them out of position and hit them. And, it may be one of those things, too, to where they're not used to giving up yards, they're not used to giving up some points. If we can be successful moving the football and score, that may start working on them mentally because that just hadn't happened to them this year.
And the good thing is they're so talented, they don't have to do a lot. So the looks you're going to get from an offense. Basically what they're going to be doing defense. You could sit down and dial it up. They have a couple coverages, a couple fronts, and that's really it. They don't blitz a lot because they don't have to. They don't run a bunch of different coverages because they don't have to. So what they're going to be in. It's just whether or not you can attack it the right way and execute it, and kind of get them on the heels a little bit because they're not used to not having success, and that can be very frustrating, especially in a game like us where there's no Vegas odds or anything, but they know they're the favorite in the game. They know that in their mind there's a lot of football in front of them, so you can catch teams like that a little off guard because they're probably, even if they've had an off week too, so I'm sure they've put different stuff in. I'm sure they put a few wrinkles here on defense and offense in, but they probably don't want to run them against us. They're probably saving that in their mind for the next couple of weeks because this off week was to prepare them in their mind for the run in the playoffs, where we've been mainly focused on them. So all of our attention and new installs and stuff like that is going to focus on them, and theirs probably hasn't gone to focus on us. So that's an advantage for us, for sure, when it comes to like the schematics of it all. And then you know what they're going to do, and it's just whether or not you can execute what you want to do to exploit what they do. And you're not always going to execute against these guys. They're gonna have plays where they just blow stuff up.
Talking with Cullman head coach Danny Stiff in the Bearcat Den here at Pasquale's Pizza on Highway 31 in Cullman. Special thanks to Jamie Blanton and her team at Alabama Closing and Title for providing meals tonight for Cullman players and coaches. The buffet is hot and ready on the inside, waiting on you. Still got plenty of time to come by and enjoy dinner before you make your way to church tonight and meet some Cullman players and hang out with us here in the Bearcat Den. We'll be here until 6:30. When we come back, we'll continue taking a look at the first round of the state playoffs. It's Bearcats and Thundering Herd Friday night from Parker. More in a moment here on the Bearcat Den, live on Cullman's Live 95.
In 1952, 7 men at an aluminum plant banded together and started Lister Hill Credit Union with only $5 each. Today, more than 92,000 have joined us, continuing the legacy of supporting themselves and the community through Lister Hill. It's all about we and what we can do together.
Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights. We switch TV channels. Some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, State Farm agent Tisha Brewer right here in Cullman could switch you over and you could start saving today. Tisha and her team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. With Tisha Brewer, it's easy to switch and save.
I'm Tisha at Tisha Brewer State Farm. We're located behind Cook's Pest Control at 909 Fisher Street. You can reach us at 256-734-4645. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Cullman Electric Cooperative's mission is to make life better in the communities we serve. That starts by providing reliable, affordable electricity, while our Sprout Fiber Internet service delivers blazing fast broadband internet to homes, schools, and businesses. Cullman Electric Cooperative is a proud supporter of student athletes, cheerleaders, and band members who work hard every day to make their families and community proud. Cullman Electric Cooperative and Sprout Fiber Internet, powerful connections, brighter future.
The road to the Blue Map kicks off this Friday night in the Alabama High School Athletic Association state playoffs. And Cullman Community Radio is proud to be the flagship station of two of the top teams in the state of Alabama, the Good Hope Raiders and the Fairview Aggies. This Friday night on Friday Night Live, the Hatton Hornets come to Good Hope to take on the Raiders, and the Fairview Aggies host the Rams of Carver. It's the first round of the Alabama High School Athletic Association state playoffs, right here on Cullman Community Radio's Friday Night Live, powered by Cullman's Live 95. Go to your favorite app store and download the Cullman's Live 95.5 app. Then select the channel of the game you want to hear. Friday Night Live is brought to you in part by Cyber Broadband, Plus One Heating and Air, Cleaning and More Cullman, Josh Phillips of Impact Mortgage Group, Merchants Bank, Cullman Electric Co-op, Tisha Brewer of State Farm, Lister Hill Credit Union, Guthrie's Automotive, and the Warhurst Team Realtors at Hagamore Realty Group. Friday Night Live on the Cullman County Sports Network, powered by Cullman's Live 95.
Live 95.5.
Cullman's Live 95. Welcome back into the Bearcat Den, live from Pasquale's Pizza here on Highway 31 in Cullman. Special thanks to Jamie Blanton and her team at Alabama Closing and Title. They provided meals tonight for the Cullman players and coaches, so special thanks to Jamie and her team for all their support this season of Cullman Bearcat football. If you got questions about your title insurance on your house, or maybe you don't even have title insurance, or maybe you want to add somebody to your deed, Jamie and her team can answer those questions for you and put you on the right track and make sure your home is safe and protected there at Alabama Closing and Title. Thanks again, Jamie, for your support of the Bearcat Den and Cullman football. I'm Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff in the Bearcat Den and Pasquale's Pizza. Coach, the pizza and pasta is smelling good out here on the patio.
It smells really good. Yeah, it's about that time of the show when I start getting hungry.
Yeah, you know? when we get wrapped up, we get to go eat, but still going to talk Parker a little bit. We've got a tough draw the first round of the playoffs, but at the same time, we played some great defense this year. I think our best defensive effort from my perspective came in the Hartselle game.
Yeah.
And, I'm almost thinking they came in averaging 48 points a game. We held them way below their average. A good defensive effort like that on our part will get in the head of the Thundering Herd because nobody's been able to slow them down.
Yeah, and I think, like just looking at the scores, we haven't given up over – I think Buckhorn was really our most points we gave up in the second half of the season, and that was 14. So I think the players kind of have settled in to what we do defensively. I know from having called the defense that I've settled into what we're better at. and maybe not as aggressive from a coverage standpoint, and be a little looser in the run game, and knowing that you're going to give up a little more there. But then, it goes back to making the other team constantly execute against you and see if they can do that for 70, 80 yards down the field. And that's been successful for us. So, a team like Parker's a little different because they have so many weapons. You almost have to, but you got 10 games to prepare on them. I got 11 games that I've watched on these guys. So you have a real good beat on who they are, who they've evolved to, and kind of what they've gone to. So, it becomes a chess match at this point. That we're trying to know what they do and attack it certain ways. This would be by far, from a volume standpoint, the most stuff we've gone into a game from a call standpoint that we have to run. This will probably be the biggest play sheet I've got for them, and I feel like we've got to be that way. We can't let them know what's coming. And you almost have to prepare in segments for a game like this. Like you have a first quarter, maybe a first half plan, depending on how that goes. And then at halftime, you want to save a couple things for the second half to be able to pull out on them. So after they've made adjustments and sat down in the locker room, that you've got something else for them too. So that's why you need 2 weeks to prepare for a team like this. So it helps you kind of put the volume in, and now we've repped it basically against every single thing that they run. We've repped almost every single thing we're going to do against all those looks and all the different calls. So it really allows us to play a lot more like defensively than we've done, and offensively is the same way. I think Coach Gleaton stopped installing stuff maybe yesterday was the last time we stopped installing stuff. For them, because as you go on, you start seeing kind of how what we do against how we're attacking it, and you go through practice and you see that something else is there. But like I said, at some point you got to cut yourself off.
Yeah.
Because the players got to be able to know it and know it well. But it's a fun week as a coaching standpoint, because you know what's on the line, you know it's the playoffs, and you just really want to throw. Everything's really been building to this point. So you know your players well. You know that team pretty well because you've seen what they've done all year. So you're really just trying to put it all together, And in my mind, every year that we build up to this point, like from a defensive standpoint, we've put in new calls every week, kind of building up. Hey, we need this, we need this, we need this, to where you eventually have the full package, and it's fun at that point once you have the full package and you know that the guys can run it. Because you'll put stuff in 1 week, honestly. You'll install something, and it's not smooth enough in practice. Yeah. So you don't run it. And then you work on it the next week, and then it gets a little better. You might run it a couple times, and then by the time the third week or so they've got it down, you might run it 10 times in a game, 10 or 15 times, and it's executed very well. So a lot of stuff like that builds up over the year, and you get a lot more diversity in what you can do. And, you can pull out some things that maybe they haven't seen because you've had 2 weeks to work on it, and make sure that we got it right before we go out there and do it. Because if it doesn't go good in practice, I never usually run in a game. Never. Unless you're just throwing something at a wall and you're desperate. Yeah. But if you haven't practiced it very well, I learned my lesson last year. Mortimer Jordan, our onside kick, which she probably heard me talk about this a couple times, our surprise onside kick. We hit it a couple times in practice, but we probably didn't get it more than we got it. And I was greedy, and I ran it in the game, and it was there, but we didn't execute it very well. And that's 100% on me. We hadn't executed it. You got to do something like that almost 100% in practice to be able to go out in a game and do it. So I really learned not to force the issue on something when it just hadn't been there, or it's there, from a schematic standpoint, but it's the players haven't quite grasped it or haven't quite executed it well enough. You just got to reel stuff like that back and not do it,
All the pressure is on Parker. They're ranked number 2 in Class 6A. They come in 9-1. They're the favorite by people that look at the game. That all being said, how has practice been this week? Because we can be as loose and as wide open and as carefree as we want to be. Talk about practice and preparation this week.
Yeah, last week was a little tougher because we had so much time off before Wednesday. Like I said, Tuesday is usually when you want to get going on the bye week, but we went to Wednesday because the volleyball was playing. And I didn't want our kids. I wanted our kids to have the opportunity to go. Yeah. I couldn't go because I was still working. But, that was special for them to get to state. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to go to that if they wanted to. and support them because they'd made that run, and but it was started out a little sloppy last week. Just because we'd been off for so long. Preston tells me all the time. He says he's the same way with basketball. Like if he misses off his routine in practice, he's not the same. So we're just a little bit off last week. We finished strong. We had a real good Friday, and then every day this week's been really good since Monday. So I just feel like you get to the point now where you've repped everything, you've seen it all. I got about 100 cards drawn up, because you see their whole season. So you see one play that they've ran one time, and you're like, well, if they do that, we got to be ready for that too.
Yeah.
So it's just about preparing for all that, and then going out and do it. And now you're about ready just to strap it up on Friday night, and you can't do too much more as coaches or players to prepare, and you're just ready to get out there and get going and see what it's like.
Well, Coach, I have had an absolute blast doing the Bearcat Den this season. I hope that we can steal a win at Parker and be back here another week and get to host a playoff game next week at Oliver Woodard Stadium. What's it going to take for our Bearcats to get out of Parker with a win Friday night?
We're going to have to be resilient. We're going to have to know that not everything is going to go perfect. It's not all going to go our way. But if you can battle through that and come out on the other side of it, there'll be opportunities in the game at some point. And if we're ready for those opportunities and we're ready to take advantage of it, then you want to get yourself to the fourth quarter in a game like this. You want to be in the ball game in the fourth quarter, and if you are, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. So if you can get it to the fourth quarter where it's a close ball game, and then let that take over. Now the good thing about them is they are so good and they are so talented. They don't rotate a lot of guys like in and out on defense. So that should be about the point where those D tackles get a little tired. You know what I mean? And maybe not what they were in the first quarter. So if you can get yourself into a 4-quarter ball game, and then you get a little luck involved in something like that in the fourth quarter, or you get a little executing on some plays or some different things we're doing, you can make it happen. That's the great thing about football is that anything can happen on any night. I mean, you can watch Vanderbilt beat Alabama, which when you match those players up, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But that was their night. Vanderbilt was on their P's and Q's. They were executing at a high level. They didn't get everything they wanted, but they got it when they needed it, and they got the stops when they needed it on defense, and that's all it takes. So again, it's playoff football, so they're going to make some plays. They're good teams. You just got to make yours when you have your opportunity, and make sure that when they get theirs, that it's not something that sets you back mentally to put you out of your game where you can't get it when those opportunities come up.
Yeah. Well, Coach, again, thank you for your time tonight and this season. Best of luck Friday night. Hopefully we'll get to come back here to Oliver Woodard Stadium next week.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you doing this. This has been awesome. I think it's a great thing, that you do anyway, and then for these kids to be able to come here. It's been an awesome deal, and I look forward to it.
Hopefully we'll be back next Wednesday night in the Bearcat Den here at Pasquale's Pizza. Again, special thanks to Jamie Blanton and her team at Alabama Closing and Title for providing meals tonight for the Bearcat players and coaching staff. Thank you, Jamie, for your support to the Bearcat Den this season. And thank you to you for coming out to the Bearcat Den this season, for watching us on Facebook or listening to us on Cullman's Live 95. You've got a chance tomorrow night to get those vocal cords warmed up to get ready to cheer Friday night at Parker. We've got 2 basketball games tomorrow night in Bearcat Arena. The girls take on Cordova at 6 p.m. The boys take on Brewer at 7:30. So come out tomorrow night and take in some chaos and some Cullman basketball to get yourself and get your vocal cords warmed up for Friday night. For Coach Danny Stiff, I'm Tommy Warhurst saying so long, and thanks for joining us in the Bearcat Den here from Pasquale's Pizza. The buffet is going to be going all evening long. You can come by and have dinner here at Pasquale's Pizza and sit out here on the patio and enjoy some great games on television. Again, for Coach Danny Stiff, I'm Tommy Warhurst saying so long, and thanks for listening to the Bearcat Den here on Cullman's Live 95.
Hey, Cullman drivers. Are you tired of the hassle and confusion when it comes to buying a car? Well, we've got fantastic news for you. Meet Adam Aker at Mitch Smith Chevrolet in Cullman, your go-to guy for a no-nonsense car buying experience.
Hey, folks. Adam here. Buying a car shouldn't be stressful. That's why at Mitch Smith Chevrolet, we pride ourselves on transparency, trust, and there's never any BS at MS.
That's right. Adam Aker and the Mitch Smith Chevrolet team are changing the game.
I live and breathe Cullman, just like you. So when you step into our showroom, you're not just another customer, you're family. Together, we'll find the perfect vehicle to fit your needs and budget. Remember, Adam Aker, Mitch Smith Chevrolet, what's not to love?
Live 95 is brought to you in part by Merchants Bank of Alabama, a division of South Point, now with several locations across the state, but still located in the heart of Cullman County. They are a proud sponsor of Cullman Community Radio on Live 95. Merchants Bank of Alabama, a division of South Point Bank, member FDIC.
Need to be seen? Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery can get your name and logo seen all over town. Whether it's hats, shirts, jackets, or hoodies, Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery can hook you up. They also have promotional items like pins, cups, koozies, bags, and more. Does your club, team, or school need a fundraiser? Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery can set up an online store for you. From concept to completion, Go Tees can take care of all your promotional needs. Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery. For more information, you can visit www.shopgotees.com. That's GOOTEES. Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery.